wake up! Hibernation's over!
Oh, morning!
Morning, Hammy.
Animals are in the house.
Well, it's been a dream project for me. I knew about the comic strip before we'd even optioned it as a feature film. Over the Hedge is written and drawn by a pair of amazingly talented guys. Mike Fry writes the strip and T. Lewis illustrates it.
A comic strip, very simply and very brilliantly, has a turtle and a raccoon who peer over a hedge and take a look at human society and all of the very, very strange things that we do as human beings, and absolutely lampoons it with razor-sharp wit. This felt like a great arena in which to set an animated film.
It's a classic Laurel and Hardy kind of team.
Yeah, they sort of complete each other, I guess. You know?
Yeah, and visually, I sort of fashioned them. I kind of had Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, that kind of size relationship in mind when drawing them.
Mike, as a writer, just knows how to work in that tiny, impossible format of set up a joke, develop it, pay it off with a punchline, and then cap it. T. Lewis's beautiful drawings, I mean, I liken him to the classic comic strip illustrators. He's a pen and ink guy, and the thick and thin and vibrancy of his line, the expressions of his characters, it was an incredible challenge to try to capture the sort of personalities that he has in his black and white drawn world in our three-dimensional color world, and try to stay true to them. I believe that what we have is, of course, a very different looking set of animals than what was drawn in the strip, but because we work so closely with T, I think that we've got the same tone and the same sort of irreverent fun to the style of what we have.
Jeepers. The way that Mike and T do, they do little vignettes or moments, and I think the challenge for us was to actually take that and turn it into a feature-length, storytelling.
What we're going for here is a vicious, man-eating rabid squirrel. Can you handle that?
Excuse me.
Yes. Hemi.
Okay, rabbits aren't vicious. They're all cute and cuddly, so.
Rabid, not rabbit.
Oh.
It's always a pretty big leap when you go from a drawing to a 3D character, and perhaps even a larger leap when you go from the beautiful line quality of T. Lewis's cartoon strip illustrations into something that is so fleshed out and furred as our CG characters.
What is that?
For Over the Hedge, it was really about backyard animals. What are their habits and what do they do? Is to have a semblance of realism, have a believability. And I think it's important for the artist to sort of be in touch or, find out a little bit more about those worlds in order to bring that element of believability to the film. The San Diego Zoo brought a number of the animals up to actually the DreamWorks campus on a day. And they brought a raccoon and possum and turtle and all the different animals that we have in the film, and allowed the crew to observe them and talk about them, and again, figure out what their habits were.
When we brought the animals to the studio, they sort of shocked us because we'd spent a lot of time designing these exquisitely stylized and beautiful characters, and when the real thing showed up, which we're supposed to be improving on, they were so much cuter than what we've been working on. We had to take like 7 steps backwards and take a look at the real thing and go, okay, this thing's really cute already. What are we gonna do to make it at least that cute in the film? So we went back, redesigned them, gave them a little bit more appeal that was directly inspired from like the little baby possums that we were holding in our hands, or the skunks or whatever it was.
All right, kids, you heard your mother, and now you listen to me. Shape up there.
Trying to celebrate the differences between the characters as opposed to just, blanket styling them with something.
The most difficult thing for the character TDs is trying to imagine, how is this going to move? How is this character going to move? In the case of RJ, you have this very sly, very slippery sort of moving character that should be very mobile and very able to move, climb trees, do all sorts of things.
Play? Play! Down, boy! Sit! Roll over!
We are looking at the anatomy of that character and trying to see, where should those bones be? Where should the muscles be? What should the arm look like when it bends, or the hands, and down to the details of the face? And when you're trying to put in all those details and try to make it anatomically correct, and then have it be believable when they're acting, and so that they still emote properly.
When the shot comes to us in our department, basically it's gone through modeling, the characters are built, And there's a layout department that brings everything together into a shot. So you have your characters, you have your props, you have your environment, and so we bring the life to the characters and give them their personalities.
Okay, that's it. I am sick and tired of everybody taking one look at me and running away because they think I'm filthy.
We use the actors' voices in the shot when we're actually working, so we're playing to the dialogue directly from Garry Shandling and Bruce Willis and the whole crew. Garry Shandling has a lot of things where he puts his hands to his head, and we tend to get a lot of that type of stuff. And you know, facial expressions on Bruce Willis is a big thing because he expresses himself facially.
That stuff is to die for.
My role on Over the Hedge was to implement the first faces for the first characters. I started with RJ, and the reason we always start with the star is because we have to be able to prove that the character is going to be able to carry the show.
Bingo! Okay, step 2.
I thought we'd be dead by step 2, so this is going great.
There's a lot of breakthroughs that we're looking at on Over the Hedge that we're really proud of. Mostly we have fur. We have fur everywhere. We have fur on the humans in that they have hair. Every one of our characters not only has fur, but they have a different sort of texture or softness. Look, if you will, at the sort of soft, downy fur on the possum's chest. It feels so tactile, it's like you want to touch that fur. Look at the more coarse, rougher fur on RJ the raccoon. Take a look at the thick spines of the quills on the porcupines. It's like we not only had to invent fur for the movie, we had to invent a whole palette and range and world of what fur could do on this picture.
One of the biggest things that we did was, as a character like RJ has any movement, his hair is following his movement. That's very unusual. You don't find that in a lot of CG films right now. Not only did we find a great solution for that, but we were able to implement it across all of our furry characters so that all hair moves and all fur moves. Now, that's a huge win. The other thing is that when characters interact with each other and hands touch fur, mostly people avoid that because you have to actually move the fur. Our guide hair solution allowed the character effects department to have characters interact with props and they could move the fur away from the prop. A character could touch another character on the arm. They could move the fur away from it penetrating the fingers. So we had an unusual situation where we could take fur to the next level. It wasn't just a lot of fur done well, and we think it's been done well, but it's fur done well that moves.
Oh, what was it? What was it? Wait, right on the tip of my tongue!
The mandate for the effects on this is to be funny whenever possible. That in live action, it's usually about realism. Here, it's about how do we exaggerate it.
There's a lot of fun effects to keep your eye open for. Some of them are so subtle that you probably won't see them, but were incredibly difficult. The animals interact with the world of the forest. That's leaves and grass that they have to step on and have to bend and follow through. It's the kind of thing the eye probably doesn't notice, but if it wasn't there, you would surely miss a sort of richness in the world. All the way up to our most outlandish effects. We actually ignite a barbecue propane tank, which propels a rocket-like sled full of food up into the air. It's a beautiful sort of fun tribute to the Apollo or Space Shuttle program when that thing lifts off and leaves a plume of white smoke. We've got simple things like backyard sprinklers that you take for granted every day as very, very difficult and challenging special effects to get water to spray up in the air. Some of our special effects are actually our biggest joke in the film. So when RJ opens up a bag of nacho cheese chips, the cheese dust explodes out of it. And from the animal's point of view, it's the most amazing thing they've ever smelled, the most amazing thing they've ever tasted. And the special effect of this wave, this explosion of orange dust, is one of the funniest moments in the picture.
How great I am.
I'm incredibly excited about the music. We have put together a trio that really spans the gamut of experience. They are Hans Zimmer, who is obviously one of the top composers in working in film today, working with Rupert Gregson-Williams. And then to top that all off, someone that Tim and I have long been a fan of, we were able to get him on this movie, and that's Ben Folds. Ben is an outstanding singer-songwriter in terms of the level of sophistication that he brings to his music and his lyrics in particular.
How great I am. Gotta tell myself, yeah, I'm the man. Looks grim right now. But pretty soon we'll be laughing about it. Ooh, it's alright.
I think the challenge is not to just do a standard score. I could just jump in and do a beautiful little orchestral sweet score, because it's quite sweet. They're in the forest, make a nice sweet little sound. But with Ben's sound, we can make something a little bit different, a bit more rock and roll.
It's a particular place, Suburbia, and it's really interesting to figure out what its sound is.
I felt like, you know, there's lots of blue suburban skies and a lot of suburbia, and that was the first thing I was drawn to visually, and so Hans and Rupert and I kind of came up with this sort of using vocals instead of strings to make it surreal.
You've got a crew of over 200 artists. Every one of them every day will show you some amazing drawing or piece of animation or lighting or special effect. Every one of them is at the top of their game and showing you things for you to help them craft all of these different parts to make one whole, to make one film.
Oh, we have so much work to do.
To watch your 5-year-old daughter go around attempting to burp her ABCs
I can burp my ABCs!
A-B-C.
Hammy!
is both exciting and slightly revolting at the same time.
Thank
you.
It's not just for kids. The animation is phenomenal. It's so rich and so vibrant, and there's so many layers to it. And I think it's a great cast and a hilarious movie.
Was that out loud?
It really does address a lot of human foibles and kind of makes fun at them and holds a mirror up to humans and society in general that I think everybody's going to find funny.
How many humans fit in there?
Usually, one. Whoa, stop. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, our work here is done.
Is an SUV. Humans ride around in it.
And you are...
Oh, where are my manners? I'm RJ.
RJ the Raccoon, voiced by Bruce Willis. We call him our raconteur raccoon. A guy who's used to living life on his own and has never really experienced anything like the home and family that Vern's group of animals have.
And as it turns out, RJ actually has a little secret that he actually owes some food to a bear that he ripped off. And he's using these animals to get the food back for him. And it's Bruce doing what he doesn't get a chance to do a lot in most of his movie roles, but it's more of how Bruce got his start, being a charming wisecracker.
I play a raccoon, this kind of a devil-may-care. He's the Cary Grant of the animal kingdom.
So, do you think they have enough? Well, they don't. Because you know what? For humans, enough is never enough. And what do they do with the stuff they don't eat? They put it in gleaming silver cans. Just for us.
I think he's a metaphor for trying to take a shortcut in life. He's looking for the easiest, fastest way to get what he wants.
We actually compare him a lot to Harold Hill in The Music Man, a sort of a sly con man who comes in, sings a great song, but doesn't quite warn them of the perils and dangers that he's leading them into.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
Vern the Turtle's voiced by Gary Shandling. Vern the Turtle is a very cautious, neurotic, play it safe, by the book, and traditional turtle. And Gary does a marvelous job of capturing this guy's warmth and family affection and his fear of anything new and changing.
Food out the wazoo!
I really don't know what a wazoo is, but whatever food comes out of it, we're not interested in eating. Thank you, and goodbye.
Vern plays it very safe, very cautious. He has that hard shell, and if things get a little hairy, he can hide in his shell, and that's pretty much Vern.
I mean, I didn't think I was at all like Vern until I saw the first cut of this movie, and then I thought, well, we sound alike. That's fascinating.
Listening to Gary Shandling's voice in this thing, such a great voice. It's such an amazing voice.
I just made up a voice that was basically what I sound like when I am doing voiceover work.
What's fun with Gary is he's known, of course, as this sort of wry stand-up comedian. What we have in Vern, frankly, in the picture is almost a straight man. He taps into some pretty soulful moments for Vern, who really is the heart of this picture.
When Vern's tail tingles, his instinct says, watch out for this guy, he's talking fast. Don't get sucked up into some fast-talking Hollywood world. Then I get confused, because I'm in a movie.
What do you think of when you think of a skunk? You think of an animal that stinks. If this is the luggage that you carry around all your life, it's bound to shape your personality a little bit. And the way you might combat this is you cut people down to size before they get a chance to say something to you. Who does that any better than Wanda Sykes?
Why does everyone think I need a man, huh? I look like a nest and smell like a swamp. So when you find a fellow who's decent, good with kids, and has no sense of smell, call me. Stella's great. She, Stella gets it. She's like, these are the cards that I've been dealt. I'm a skunk. And I'm not gonna try to deny it. I'm just gonna live with it. I'm a skunk.
She has an amazing vocal quality, so there's great music to her voice, and her attitude has almost become iconic.
Oh, jeepers, here we go.
Okay, that's it. I am sick and tired of everybody taking one look at me and running the other way because they think I'm filthy. Well, I got news for you. I didn't get all primped and preened to have some overfed pompous puffball tell me he's too good for me. I got makeup on my butt, dude, and you don't even want to know about the cork.
As both a fan of William Shatner and his director, it was a real honor to work with him. You will never have a more energetic, dedicated performer. The man's comic timing is consummate. You never have to explain the setup of a joke to Bill. He reads that script page, gets it, and will give you all sorts of flawless choices as a director for how Ozzy would approach any given problem.
The studio is your chance to play. You get a chance to be spontaneous, to work with actors to see sort of what bubbles up while you're exploring a scene. And most of these guys are incredibly gifted at improvisation.
Can you try one that's a little bit of the Shakespearean sort of, that is a glorious sight, or...
There he goes. Bye-bye. Farewell. Adieu, mon Dieu.
It's like a knob you can dial.
No.
Bill, you're a joy to work with. Thank you. That was perfect.
Possums, that's their defense. They play dead. So they've written a character, Shakespearean, Possum. He likes to die theatrically. I don't know why they chose me.
I'm dying. I'm dying. Goodbye, cruel world. Oh, oh.
Due to the genetics, Heather is also possum. She wanted to be a wolf, but I'm sorry. What doesn't come naturally, though, is dying. I have to teach her to die.
Dad, it was just snow.
All teenagers are embarrassed of their parents, and I was like, oh, my father's so not cool.
Isn't playing dead a little weak? I play the role of Heather, who is a possum. She's a teenager. She gets embarrassed by her dad a lot. She has a little bit of attitude.
We worked our tails off, like a lot. And the food we gathered was totally, and you're all whatever.
This is her first acting role, and she was telling us, guys, I've never done this before, and you really have to help me be successful. And let me tell you something, by the end of that first session, Avril didn't need any advice from us. She was going, let me give you this reading, let me give you this. She gave us a ton of great performances for the voice of our Heather character, and I think emerged and discovered what she can do as an actress while doing a voice for this picture.
I portray Lou the porcupine, and my wife Penny.
Thank you.
Is my wife Penny, I guess. It's
played by me.
It's played by Catherine, that's right. That's what I meant to say.
From the moment you meet the characters of Penny and Lou, you're tapped into a richness that Eugene and Catherine bring merely because they've performed together. They know each other's rhythms and they know each other's comic timing as performers. It really helps give this set of parents a richness and a soulfulness.
It was an absolute pleasure to work with them, mostly because you work with people like that and they make our job easier. They take every piece of material that you give them and plus it.
Good morning, everyone. Just a super-duper morning, eh?
Ah, jeepers.
Whoa, not looking so good around the eyes there, huh?
Bucky and Gwillo were up every 3 or 4 weeks, and Spike kept poking me.
The dynamic between the mother and father, it's just very sweet, very typical family, you know.
Love that, super duper. We grew up in Toronto, Canada, and how we got American television was through the border station. So we got a lot of the local programming through Buffalo. Cheektowaga, Tonawanda, and they kind of talk like that. You know what? How about I take the day shift?
Oh, Lou, that'd be just super.
We say super through the movie quite a bit. There was an actual supermarket, probably still there, called Super Duper. And the tagline for that commercial that ran all the time was, "Love that super duper."
Moon's full, RJ. See you in the morning.
Vincent the Bear is voiced by Nick Nolte, and he's really our primary villain in the piece, the character that turns to RJ and threatens his life if he doesn't get back all of the food RJ stole from him. When we approached Nick Nolte to voice the bear, he was actually sort of surprised. In his gravelly voice, he said, "Now, why would you want me to voice a bear?"
You know, as I got older and my voice got more husky like this, I was waiting for a bear role to come around, you know. They heard me talk like this, and so I decided, boy, that sounds like a bear.
He really brings a level of acting to the piece. It's actually, to be honest, fun to watch, and I think it's been a real challenge for the animators to kind of bring what Nick actually brings to the voice, actually to the physicality of the character.
He is a man who really understands text. It's amazing. Nick really wraps his brain around a character, and he touches things in Vincent that are pretty soulful for us, and takes him from a mere sort of simple villain to a rather complicated character.
I worked hard at making that guy so, likable.
A character who espouses a philosophy of selfishness that has kept him alive for a long time, and he tells RJ that that's the right philosophy for him to have, in spite of what he's learning from this group of animals.
That is the most vicious, deceitful thing I've ever seen. Classical. RJ, you take the food, and they take the fall.
Halt! Intruders! Intruders! Get out, all of you!
The Persian Cat is a British stand-up comic named Omid Jalili.
Tiger, the Persian cat, is a domesticated animal, and it's very shocked to see all these wild animals. It's basically the tension between a domesticated animal and wild animals. Stop! No one has ever spoken to me like that. It is bold. I like it.
No, I can talk, just driving. Hi, this is Gladys Sharp, your president of the Homeowners Association. Right.
Gladys Sharp is my character's name, and she's a very career-driven woman. But her main reason for living is to maintain and run this wonderful housing development.
Gladys is the president of the Homeowners Association, and she's the kind of person that walks around with a measuring stick who says, you know, your grass is supposed to be 2 inches and yours is more like 2.5.
You see? This is exactly why I called the exterminator, to kill them before they get hurt like this.
She wants to make sure that the neighborhood is pristine. So when she comes across these animals, she just sees them as vermin. She just calls them, it's just all rats and just vermin to her.
Get out of here! Shoo! Get out of here! I just mopped this patio, filthy vermin!
Now she calls perhaps an even greater foe into the mix.
I believe someone phoned about an animal problem. Solution is standing before you. Dwayne LaFontaine is here.
This is a guy who takes pest control not just as a career, but as a passion.
He's absolutely an arch professional, but given his line of work, he's kind of inhumane.
He has all these gadgets, and he's lopping off heads, and you know, catching in traps, and it's like way over the top.
Oh, that's the D Pelter Turbo. Prepare for a lot of stinging.
Well, Dwayne can walk up onto a scene and just take one sniff and actually, you know the phylum, genus, and species of whatever animal has been there. That's how trained his nose is.
What am I up against here? Possum, porcupine, skunk, squirrel, raccoon, amphibian.
Reptile.
No.
Reptile.
Easily the best improv man I have ever worked with in 3 pictures now in animation. Whatever you put in front of Thomas is merely the soil upon which to grow an incredible array of funny character moments.
Our very first session with Thomas Hayden Church, we had a line out there where Gladys is looking at the possum and says, "I think he's dead." And Thomas Hayden Church just spit out of nowhere, "Oh really? Do you in fact have an associate's degree from Verm Tech?"
Now, Hammy, go! Go!
Where's the food? Is there any food left? I'm really hungry. Is there food left in there, huh?
We ate all the food, Hammy, during the winter, so we gotta go get some more now.
Oh, right! I buried some nuts in the woods and now I know where they are and I'm gonna go.
Yeah, we can use that.
Hammy is an idiot savant without the savant. He is a very well-intentioned, very well-meaning squirrel. He exists in a world all of his own. He's incredibly loyal to his friends, and he really has a soft spot and a very loving essence to him. He's everything I'm not. He's very sweet, he's very kind, he is very loving.
Oh.
It's gonna make me cry just thinking about him.
Steve was a very early choice for Hammy. We actually worked very closely off of the squirrel designs from T. Lewis's drawings in the strip. And once we started to play with how far Steve pushed the character in his voice, it was less about the design of the character and more about the character setup. In computer animation, we connect all of these controls to the character. We realized right away with the performance Steve was giving us, we needed more control. He had such incredible dynamism from broad to quiet that we needed the animation controls and capabilities of the face to reflect his voice performance.
Our sessions with him are too short, actually, because he's so efficient and good. He's one of those people that you just say, "Can you do it again a little funnier?" And he does it again even funnier.
Oh, morning! Is that it?
That's
it. I gotta go wee-wee.
He has an extremely short attention span.
Scatterbrained, 1 minute.
You know what? Actually, it's a good question. Who is Steve?
So hard for him to focus.
I like food.
And this group, they're being very patient with Hammy.
Hammy sort of steals the movie. He is a hyperactive nut, a sort of toddler on steroids. This character is adorable in that he's constantly moving.
It never ends. Whoa! It never ends that way, too.
We ended up with a really, really good voice cast and a great group of not just comedians, but I think really talented actors.
Welcome to the family.
Hey!
Okay.
Our job at DreamWorks is just to tell the very best story that we can.
Technology is critical for the filmmaking process. To us, it's at the core of what we do.
In the beginning of Over the Hedge, we had no idea if we'd be able to come up with the film that we had envisioned technically. We were asking for a lot. I mean, we have furry animals walking through foliage in the woods, in environments that have to have a realistic light bouncing around. We wanted backlit fur gleaming in the morning sun, and we wanted leaves being hit by the sun and reflecting a certain amount of light and light quality. I personally had no idea if we'd be able to pull it off.
Tim Johnson, one of the directors of the film, had a vision in mind to make the computer-generated images look as if they've been exposed on film. There's a certain latitude that film has when it renders reality, and we had to kind of try to duplicate that.
I come from a 2D background, and as a painter, we just paint it in. We just put the light there. And I get onto this film, and they're like, no, we don't just put the light there. It's a very complicated mathematical process. And I was panicked. You know, I thought, how do we do this?
Much like a cinematographer will craft with his instruments and his lights, we do the same thing in the computer. There really is kind of a painterly aspect to what we do, where we literally paint with lights to create the subtle variations in tone and color. And that really is done on a light-by-light basis by the artist. Each character is kind of caringly, lovingly crafted and lit in each shot.
Lighting in this movie is, you know, unbelievable. When we finished our animation on the sequence and we started seeing the lighting dailies come back, you just watch it like...
Over the Hedge is unique to other animated features in that we have more cute, fuzzy critters than anybody. There's such an appeal to the characters. They are so lovable, they're so squishy. You want to take them home, you want to bury your face in them because they're so cute.
Morning, Lou. Penny?
Thanks.
Hey, kids.
One of the things that was really fun on the film was to really see what we could do to push the fur tool. The fur tools are essentially a tool that grows little strands of hairs. And we use that, we push that all the way from a porcupine quill to the very fine fur that you see around the animal's faces, like around Hammy's eyes and so forth, which is almost a velvety feel.
Shots like, as they'll call it, a Hammy transformation shot.
I am a crazy rabbit squirrel.
Where RJ sort of takes Hammy and turns him into Rabbit Hammy. That was like a really difficult technical shot for us to do, with all sorts of changes of hairstyle and fur style happening in one shot.
Hey, it's working! Behind you! I know, you're right behind me! Oh!
The porcupines were difficult for every single department. There's a lot of detail there, a lot of quills to be surfaced, and they all have to be groomed appropriately, and they're long, rigid things that our eyes can see. With fur, we get a little grace period in that you can't always see what an individual hair does, but with quills, now every single mistake we make is really visible.
Well, yeah, I'm okay with wazoo food there.
No, you're not. The tail is tingling.
Animals that hug has probably been our really biggest challenge.
We had this scene, and Andy raised his hand and he said, I noticed there's a lot of hugging in this scene. I was like, is this a problem? Is it too sentimental and sappy for you? Is that the issue? He's like, no, it's just complicated technically to do.
Whenever you have like two characters that are interacting, we basically have to go in there and do lots of work. It was such a problem we actually had to give the animators a quota for how many hugging shots they could do within any one scene. It's a very sort of emotional film, and you know it's an important part of what the characters have to do. But it made us wince every time another hugging shot came up. It's a lot of work.
Oh, come here. Yeah, that feels good, doesn't it?
One of the things that we use sort of on the back end to sort of do all the processing is what we call the render farm. It is a huge bank of machines, servers that basically take the artist's instructions and convert them into images.
These characters have 1 million strands of hair on their bodies, and to render that all out just takes time and processing power. We were having to do everything we could to kind of streamline that process so that renders didn't take 3 days to come back, because you need to do your animation, you need to fire off a render, you need it to come back as soon as possible so you're seeing it at the highest resolution to find out if the performance is working, if the glint is in the eye, all that stuff that you can't see in the tool set that we have for animating.
I want my spuddies. I love those things.
We couldn't tell the stories as visually exciting as we are able to do today with the level of innovation and creativity were it not for the partnerships of HP and AMD.
We really don't have to worry a lot about the technical limits. Almost any good idea in story, there's a way for us to execute. What we really pushed on Over the Hedge was the artistic vision, executing that in the best way we can.
We don't have the technical challenges holding us back anymore. We can tell epic stories now, and we can tell stories with a lot of technological complexity. As we move on to newer films, finding ways to take that technology to a level where it's facilitating the story is the real challenge.
At DreamWorks Animation, we really have a mandate to push the state of the art, to really be at the forefront of what is possible. And that requires us to take risks. If we planned on finishing the film with the computing power when we start 3 or 4 years in advance, they wouldn't be state-of-the-art.
What is that?
The great thing about Over the Hedge, and I think our future films, is that we are able to now facilitate the story in a way that the directors can tell whatever they want, because we're really capable of anything.
This, my friends, is just the beginning.
Hi there. My name is Dave Burgess, and I'm one of the animation supervisors on DreamWorks Over the Hedge. Today I'm going to spend a little time with you guys and hopefully show you how to have fun drawing Hammy the squirrel. One of the things that's really important when you start to draw a character is try to have it in your head before you put it on the paper. That's really, really important. So see it in your brain and then make that picture that's in your brain go onto the paper. And if you do that, you'll have really good luck and you'll have really great results. The best way to start, I think, with Hammy is to keep it really simple at the beginning. So try and figure out the basic shapes and then you add detail to it afterwards. Hammy has a head, which is good for him. So it's always good to start with the head. And then he has a chest, which is a smaller circle like that. And then he has kind of a pelvis area down at the bottom. And he's a little bit bottom heavy. So his pelvis is a little bigger than his chest, but it's not quite as big as his head. So those are the three main parts of his body. And if you keep those in mind, you can draw him doing anything you want, because you can always set that body up by using just those three simple shapes. So once you have those kind of three basic shapes, then you can start filling in how the body's going to look. So what I do is try to come up with what they call a line of action, which is a sort of a line that runs through the whole pose and keeps the whole thing working together really nicely. Okay, so what I usually like to start with is the head. So I know he's got big puffy cheeks like that, and he has kind of a flat head like that. Hammy's got nice big eyes. His eyes start at about the middle, and that's one of the reasons I think that people like him, is because he's got really nice big eyes, and you can see his expression really, really clearly when he opens his eyes up like that. And then there's his brows. And then his nose kind of comes down like this. He has kind of a big nose, actually, for a cute little guy like that. And there's a little bit of a bend right there on his nose. And then it comes down to a triangle. So most of the stuff that you do with this is you try to find the simple shapes underneath all the fur and all the cuteness that make it easy to draw and easy to keep track of. And now I'm gonna go ahead and find where his mouth is gonna go. So I know his mouth, the center of his mouth is starting here underneath the center of his nose like that. So I'm gonna bring that mouth across like that. And then these little muscles up here kind of push when he's smiling, and that pushes the fur on his cheeks up a little bit, like that. So it gets kind of puffy. And then I'm going to find one of his next major things, which are his teeth, his front teeth, which come down like that. He's got those great big squirrel teeth in the front like that. And he's got some little teeth in there as well, like that. And then he also has, so this is kind of like his basic head shape like that. A little bit of a chin under there. He's got ears, and the ears are way at the back of his head, and they're like two little triangles like this, kind of on the side of his head, of the flat part of his head like that. Now I'm going to go in and add a little bit more detail to his eyes like that, so you can see. So usually what you do is you draw the dark part of the pupil like that first, and then you put the iris around it. And the iris is the colored part. And with Hammy, it's green. He's got really pretty green eyes, like that. I tend to jump around a lot. I feel like this is working pretty well. Now I'm going to go down and sort of start working on the body. These little circles down here for his chest and his hips. So we're going to join those up like this and get a sense of where his body is going, like that. And then his legs are going to be down like this. And they're sort of like two triangular shapes, basically, for the upper thigh and for the low leg. And then the other one I'm going to put over here like this. And again, I'm keeping it really light and really simple at first, because I know I'm going to add the detail on top of it. And then for feet, I'm just going to put his just little straight lines for now, and I'll figure out exactly what I want to do with those in a minute. And then this whole line is going to run out through his bottom and then up to form his tail. It's going to come out like that and be really big and fluffy and very squirrely, like that. As you can see, this all kind of connects up like that through that line. And his tail is really big and really fluffy. And then for his hands, now I'll go ahead and figure out what I'm going to do with his arms. I think with this arm, I'm going to keep it a little bit squirrel-like. I'm going to bring the shoulder up, and I'm going to bring his hand up like that. And I'm going to put his little fingers on sort of very simply like that, because I want that kind of squirrely feel. Because you've all seen squirrels do that, where they bring their hands up to their chest and they're looking around at stuff. So that's a really nice kind of recognizable squirrel behavior and pose. So whenever you can find things like that for your character or your drawing, it really makes them believable, even though he's obviously a cartoon, but he still will have a little bit of that squirrel character to it, and that's really great to try to find. So then I've got this, and then my other arm, I'm going to bring that shoulder up, and he's holding up. He's very happy. What is he happy about? He's happy because he's found an acorn, because he does like nuts, because he is a squirrel. Like that. Let's give him a nice big walnut to hold on to, or acorn, sorry. Like that. And again, I'm trying to keep this real light at first, so then I can fill it in and make it darker as I go along. So I'm going to just jump around a little bit more and pick out a few more details. The teeth kind of come around like that a little bit. Again, his nose comes like that, has that little triangle shape, a little bend up here like that. The top of his eyes are nice and up because he's excited about this nut, like that. He's got little eyebrows that are actually a little bit hairy, like that. And then his mouth comes across like that. Again, he's got those big puffy cheeks like that. His ears. And that flows right down into his chest like that. And then his legs. Again, try to just reinforce these simple shapes and then bring it down here into his leg like that. And then his foot comes across like this. And Hammy has 4 toes. Not that you need to see them all the time, but it's nice to know that they're there. So I put in 4 little toes like that. And then on the other leg as well, he's going to have 4 toes. It'd be sad if he had 4 on one and 3 on the other. But again, it depends how you're looking. Sometimes it looks like there's only 3, even though there is 4, like that. And then as his shoulders are coming up here, like out of his neck, they kind of puff up a little bit and then go down like that into his arm. And then you can sort of show a little bit of his furriness if you want to by, whenever you get any kind of these places that are round, like on the top of his shoulder or on the tip of his elbow like that, if you just kind of fluff it up a little bit with your pencil, it'll make him look a little bit fuzzier and a little bit cuter. You can also do it up here, like on his cheeks, as it's coming around like that, and up here on top of that too. And then for the other hand, he's coming down like this. And then again, you can add a little bit of that fuzziness right there on his elbow if you want to. And then get his acorn looking a little bit better, and try to make sure that his fingers are really grabbing that acorn because he doesn't want to drop it. He'd be sad if he dropped it. Like that. Now I'm going to puff up his chest a little bit more. He's got like a white chest that goes down here. And this part of his cheeks, and from his nose over to his cheek and all down his neck, and then across his chest and down his tummy, and then up the back of his tail, that's all Hammy's white part. And then the rest of him is all that pretty kind of coppery red color. Try to get a little bit more detail into his tail, make it look at that little bit extra more fluffy, like that, by just adding some little extra kind of fluffy lines on it, like that. Get in here and actually draw the hand, like that. Hammy has 3 fingers and a thumb. Hands are hard. Hands are one of the hardest parts to draw. So I like to procrastinate and do it at the very end if I can. Like that, and then there's his thumb right there. And that's Hammy.
Humans don't want us around.
Read it and wait. What is what?
I look like a nest and smell like a swamp.
Jeepers. I would be a lot less afraid of it if I just knew what it was called. Was that out loud? I gotta go wee-wee.
What am I up against here? Amphibian.
Reptile.
No. Reptile.
No. Ah! Penny, I told you that cookie's junk. I like it, cookie.
Oh, jeepers, that is good. Here, eat up. Anything that tastes this good has to be good for you.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold. Ooh, the one place I didn't have a shell.
I'm not stupid.
Check this out. We totally hooked up the TV. I hotwired the HC converter. We get like 1,000 channels.
Right?
Fire in the hole!
Bird, unhook the chain. Penny, kids here. Penny.
Mother! Is that you? Beckoning me into the light? Must move toward the light. Lights fading, winds growing cold.
What?
Props for the Ozman.
Oh, I don't know what you're up to, but my entire shell is tingling.
He started it.
Shh, it's okay. It's just, what is this thing?
Well, it's.
You brought this on yourself.
Stella, don't.
This smell doesn't bother you?
No, his face was bred for beauty.
Why didn't you say so? Your new home.
I filled the log.
Huh?
Oh, boy.
Okay, kids, dive in. There it is.
They put it in gleaming silver cans just for us.
Sweet jeepers.
Dig in!
Good, isn't it? It is the gateway to the good life.